Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, and your host here, your facilitator here on the Captain's Table. What is the Captain's Table? Well, the Captain's Table is a place where I bring people from the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen. There used to be a joke. Now it's not, because CIG releases a lot of information. So today, specifically, we have a new face to the table, but not new to Star Citizen at all. You've probably seen them before. I've actually been on Seggelion's channel a couple times myself. So I will say, let's start with Seggelion. My fellow lover of pizza, my comrade in pizza. First, the game needs pizza. CIG, please put pizza in the game. It's required. I joke that the game every day with every patch without pizza is a failure in my eyes for CIG. So, Seggelion, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
I agree with that sentiment 100%. I mean, it only helps the culture of the community by putting pizza in there. Like, I could just imagine the memes that would be generated from them adding pizza. So they should almost have a separate department just for meme generation. It's like, okay, every patch they have some type of meme generating content. Anyways, that's besides the point. My name is Seggelion. I stream on Twitch Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've been doing that for the past 5 years now, exclusively just doing trade. That's all I do. I'm a non-combatant Star Citizen player, so I don't do that. I take the guns off of all of my ships. Also, BTW to anybody listening out there, I am going to be giving away an Ares Inferno on my stream this week. So, stop by my stream for that, for the details for that. So yeah. Also, I am the CEO of Ultima Energy. Also, it's been confirmed by Xylo that we're going to be rocking booth this year at CitizenCon, so we're super stoked for that. Yeah. Fun time.
Nice.
That's my intro. Thank you.
Nice. Yes. Nice. And does Ultima have any social media account or anything like that you don't want to plug, or?
I mean, Ultima Energy, you just Google, Ultima Energy is, Ultima Energy.
Y'all been around for, gosh, you've been the host of many Atmo Esports things, and I know
I'm actually wearing my OG Crux Cup shirt today because Crux Cup was today. I was the cameraman for the Crux Cup. So we've been involved in all the esports stuff. Well, at least in the beginning. There's too much of it now. I can't keep track of it anymore.
Nice. Yeah, well, this is actually going to be a little bit of a tie-in to that, as you know. We're going to talk a little bit about what I'm sure everyone hopes for for Atmo, or not Atmo. Why am I blanking on that? Ultima Energy to become.
Interesting. Okay.
Then we're going to have N1ightCOB, Mr. Real Submariner talks about the Polaris. N1ightCOB, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? You joked about that last time, where that's like you got your own, like, a fellow submariners calling you up, be like, "Is this you? What the fuck are you doing talking about?"
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're short. Yeah, you're short. I don't know why my fellow submariners are only watching shorts instead of like long form content, but apparently that's what popped up in their feeds for all their nerd games and stuff.
Yeah.
So. And they're like, "Oh, fellow submariner," and it's like, "Oh, I know that guy." Yeah.
So who are you? Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
So I'm N1ightCOB. I'm a full-time Navy submariner and part-time rookie streamer. So just brace yourself for that style of content if you come to my stream. I've put out really cringy YouTube videos because I have not figured out, what I want to do with that yet. So please don't ever go to that channel until I get to some kind of level with that. But more importantly, I do the Armchair Admirals and Generals podcast with Tree and Atira Kell. And we just brought up a bunch of new cast members. Sergeant Tickles, Kale Katarn, a few others. We're hoping to get them on the show. Again, Paul, you're the matchmaker of SC. I know Tree said it earlier in the chat, but it's so true.
I just like making the magic happen. That's what.
Yeah, I know. You're just out here shipping us all, and it's really great. We're really thankful for it. I should be paying you money.
Nah, you're good.
It's like eHarmony of SC content creators out here.
Listen. Now you're here with Seggelion, so he's going to drag you onto the yacht club at some point, or it'll happen. Just because
I can make that happen. Yeah, we're looking for people for sure.
So,
I'm not really good for luxury spaces, as Tree is fond of reminding me. I am a crude and conniving enlisted man. So just you know, I don't know if you want to bring me out with the nice, the rich folk, you know. the
Driving
cream.
an 890 now is training for the Idris and the Javelin, so you should be in an 890 right now.
You know, yeah, that's actually, you bring up a solid point. That's what I'm good for the yacht club. Be like, hey guys, we just need somebody to sit in the pilot seat and drive us around while we drink champagne. Do we got any takers for that? Who's good for that job?
Well,
because none of those guys actually do that. They're like, you know how if you own a boat, if you buy a boat, there's people who just sit in their boat and they never go anywhere with it. That's who those people are. So yeah, we need more drivers.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm also the prime candidate for the engineering squad, who you never even see. Like, you don't even get to see that guy through the glass. He's down in there in the engineering bay, just like watching the weird spinny blue thing just spin, you know, and being like, "Hi, waiting on this gameplay, guys. Waiting on this gameplay. Any day now."
I have wondered with the hammerhead, with that open sort of all those like sparks flying out. I have in my head there's just like a series of traditions in the UAE Navy where you send the junior sailor down there just to stare at the sparks and say, if it turns orange, we're in trouble. So just stare at that for 4 hours and see what happens. Be like, yeah, cool.
Jesus,
Jesus
Christ, Paul! You just described the first 6 years of my career. Please don't do it again out loud.
Don't worry, it's an unshielded nuclear reactor. You'll be fine.
Look, guys, if it's an orange light and not a red light, everything's fine still. Everything's fine. Green, good. Orange, red is we need to be concerned. Just to be clear.
All right. The topic for today is, if you can already tell from the title, is we're talking about industry, because we've talked a lot about in the past logistics. We've talked about combat. We've talked about ships themselves. But there's a side of the verse that I think a lot of people have been waiting for that is just starting to crack open with things like they started their preliminary work on refining, as well as there's been a not so subtle, almost sledgehammer approach to, by the way, we're working on crafting now, that CIG has done multiple times and multiple that are like slips, but they're like, yeah, we're just doing crafting now. This is just what we're doing. We're not going to tell you anything about what crafting is or how it works, but we're making on it. So those sorts of things that a lot of people have been waiting for and hoping for that Star Citizen will become, because as much as fashion is the end game of any MMO, crafting is the blood that pumps through the veins of most games. It is the thing that so many people like. So we're going to get started with what is currently there for industry, and what's good about the current industry gameplay we have. And I'll start with you on this one, Night
Ooh. So most people would probably assume that I do not attack a lot of the industry gameplay, and in most cases you'd be right. But one of the things that I really love, and what I'm excited about in general in any video game, is organized team play, where high-level organization, tight communications, what's the word I'm looking for? Projected expectations are being met in a given gameplay loop. So my prime example that I've done, and I've really enjoyed it, is mining in a mole. You know, it's that, okay, let's coordinate all 3 beams. Let's make sure we coordinate the use of mining modules, when to use them, what's the right time to use them to maximize efficiency, things of that nature. And that organized group gameplay from the industry perspective is just as viable and just as valuable to me as it is in combat-oriented gameplay, where the turret gunners are communicating with the pilot as he angles the ship, and it's all about that efficiency and that organization of a team. I always equate it to like playing baseball, right? Like a well-earned double or triple play in baseball is one of those just like really great moments when you've brought a team together, you've trained, and you executed, and it worked perfectly, and everything worked out to your advantage. I look forward to that with the industry gameplay just as much as I look forward to it with combat gameplay. But the prime thing, and I'm glad that they're starting to expand on this, is it's got to have value. There's got to be some kind of tangible reward to that gameplay and that tight organization. And at the single player level, it's did you prep well? Did you bring all the right equipment? Did you know what your area of operation looked like and what you wanted to accomplish? And did you succeed at what your goal was, despite any obstacles? That's the kind of gameplay that we're all looking for, regardless of our specialty. And the industry gameplay is heading in that direction more now. You can see it with the mining changes of 319. Everybody's real excited for those, and I think they should be. It's a good stepping stone. The salvage game loop, I think we all got caught off guard by, oh, by the way, in the next patch, we're going to be able to tractor beam components off ships. So you're getting a heavy part of salvage with that too. And it's like, we thought hull munching was going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
And then you're putting this on us. And everybody lost their mind, rightfully so, in my opinion. I think there is a caveat that nobody's really paying attention to. A lot of people, I think, are going like, oh, we're getting all the components for all the ships. And it's like, yeah, no, I mean, the ships that have them, just to be clear, guys.
Yeah.
You'll get those. And size 1, size 2, so don't think you're going to pull the quantum drive out of a Carrack. We got to be clear about these things. But still, that's a huge amount of ships that you're going to be able to take components from. So it's still a big deal. And I think that's great. I'm looking forward to all those pieces coming together. There's obviously one big piece missing, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. You know what the one big piece is.
Yes.
Everybody does.
Yes. But let's move on to Seggelion. Seggelion, what is Star Citizens doing right now in terms of industry that is good, that you like, how it's working?
Well, mining, I think, is the majority of industry gameplay at the moment. It's the most like fleshed out and well understood. It's also best disseminated throughout the community. Like there are now sub communities of just mining people now, and that's really cool. There's tools being built specifically for mining and optimizing mining gameplay from the community. So that's really good, and that's like huge, right? Now I'm from the trade aspect. I don't really do any of the mining stuff, really. I mean, that's a whole ocean of information. I just do the trade stuff, and I almost consider trade more like commerce, more so maybe than industry. It doesn't really produce anything. We're just, honestly, it's kind of cheap, our gameplay. We're just going there, buying, selling, there's zero skill involved almost. So those miners, they're pretty serious about this. And we're really starting to see, eventually those behaviors, that community is going to extend to other game loops. So salvage, like you said, came out of nowhere. It's now the largest commodity to trade. So there's communities now being created for salvage, and we're really seeing kind of an organic growth of those social areas and tools. They're now building tools for salvage. Isn't that cool? So we'll see that in trade whenever the Hull C trade comes out, I assume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what industry doesn't do right now that you'd like to see talk about with that sort of thing. Let's start with you, Seggelion. What are you looking forward to, or what are you kind of more concerned about where Star Citizen is currently when it comes to even things like trade and commodities and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's funny. Commodity is the commodity gameplay is a whole different can of worms because if I could just talk about when the Ninetales lockdown occurs, because that's when the commodity markets really change a lot. Like when we're trying to get like there's 3 moons that sell medical supplies, and we got to rush the medical supplies to sell in, or wherever. There's an incredible value that's generated, and there's quote unquote bugs that occur which allow us to make a lot of money during that time. So the entire game changes when that happens because all of a sudden pirates are out there, and next time we have a Ninetales lockdown, they're going to have the persistent items stored in cargo vehicles. So the pirates are going to start going after us a bit more hardcore. But that's really beside the point. I think the big weakness, the missing piece of the puzzle, is the crafting. Like the crafting is the glue. You called it the blood through the arteries. I kind of look at it, the glue. It holds everything else together. It creates value for the commodity. It makes people give them purpose. Remember, did you play Star Wars Galaxies and the how communities would be created from crafting? Like there was a person who had the best blasters in Star Wars Galaxies, and everyone had that blaster. I mean, that's a real game. You can cut all that other nonsense out of a game, and just having that's cool, and it ties economy and resources and car salesman skill all together. Yeah, that's the end of my rant. Thanks for listening.
NightCOB, same question to you. What is missing? What's currently missing from that sort of industry commerce sort of loop?
So I agree with Seggelion on a lot of points. My big problem with crafting and how it should be integrated, but it's one of those things like we're just at this cusp of like, okay, crafting comes in, but there has to be one other big piece that goes with it. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1 deal. You can have crafting to a limited extent, but if we don't have the tools other than to build these things for ourselves, you know, what do we really get out of crafting other than the potential to give people other things? But we're missing a lot of the tools for selling, buying, player market economies, AI market economies, stuff like that. And that's really the other big piece that goes with it. That being said, I'll give my 2 cents on crafting and where I think it needs to go, because I worry. I've seen some people talking about it a lot in regards to, oh, we're so close. This is where we need to go with the economy. People are talking about things like S tier components and weapons that don't exist in the game, and I am just not about that life right now with Star Citizen. I don't want them to have to create anything new. I want to work with what we've got. So I would like to see sooner rather than later, crafting, I think, would be more viable if we did the same thing that we did with guns and certain types of weapons like rail guns and stuff like that, and the rarer pieces of equipment, and said, okay, maybe A and B level components across the board come out of the shops. But crafting has to be utilized in such a way, it's like, okay, well, let's find uses for the things that we have in game already that make crafting special, like gems from rock mining. Like gems are only good for selling right now, right? To my knowledge, I'm asking for backup on this a lot. Like I said, I've dabbled in the industrial mining loops and stuff like that. But there's just like so many opportunities for things that already exist that we don't have to recreate, that we can say, okay, well, what if A and B components, because they're higher level components, require rarer materials like gems, or, harder to find commodities, things of that nature, so that we give those things purpose now. And that would be of more value sooner rather than later. Yeah, right. I see it in chat. Gems are only good for selling, but they are useless. I would like to put those, crafting is the first thing that's going to take those things and provide value to them, in my opinion. Because I don't think we're getting I hate to say this. I hate to say this out loud. I was having a discussion about it earlier today. I do not think we're getting the economy anytime soon, guys.
If they want the Hull C coming out this year, we're going to get the economy this year.
Well,
Whenever the Hull C comes out, it's going to be the economy.
So.
Yeah, because that Hull C is going to change the economy over. 100%.
It will nuke the economy,
Do you see Paul's face?
Yeah.
He's also concerned.
Yeah. You won't get the Hull C without the economy. So those two have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. And by the way,
okay.
NightCOB, the only item you can craft in the game right now is the multi-tool, okay? But what do you guys think is going to be the first thing we can actually craft as like a crafting thing, What do you think the first thing will be?
Like bullets? Yeah.
I think Paul's right. I think it's going to be simple things like ammunition. I would add one thing, and again, it's tied to another system that I hope will come out later this year, but I fear that we're talking about Invictus next year, and that's resource management, because they did this weird thing, right? They mentioned it at CitizenCon, subcomponents. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell are subcomponents, and why have we not talked about these things yet? But I think they mentioned it in the sense of like they already had it planned, and maybe one guy was just like, he said subcomponents out loud during the resource management special, and it was like, man, did he mean to say that? Did he? Wait, are they planning that? I need to know more. There was no button to click, but I think, right, because when you start talking about bigger ships where the quantum drive just doesn't come out without a hull cut, or
they seal that drive
plant
in. Yeah,
that thing doesn't come out without a hull cut. So in my opinion, like the way that their workaround might be like, yeah, well, we can't really just we don't have hull cuts yet. That's not a thing. So one either has to come before the other. It's either we repair these by repairing the subcomponents on the larger components, or we acknowledge that the way to go forward is hull cuts to replace it wholesale. I don't know. I think they have to do the latter, to be perfectly honest, for an idea of exchanging components. But when they said some components, I would say that's the next small thing, other than, base level ammo, for both ships, guns, things like that. Things that are small, that already exist in game and are pretty popular, is the answer to your question, Seggelion. That's the next thing I think.
Thank you.
I'll ask you this question, Seggelion, then, because I was going to ask this question to NightCOB, and you already answered for me, which is, do you think we're going to see the dynamic economy this year? So, Seggelion, do you think we're going to see the dynamic economy this year?
I doubt it, to be honest. But like,
Okay.
I think it's tied to the spaceship. So whenever they
Okay.
have the spaceship, right, or whenever that comes, then we'll know, and that gives us a temperature as well. If it's going to come out in December, then we'll know maybe economy December, you know. But I don't guess about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't get me wrong. I'm with him in the idea that like they're teasing the Hull C.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I want to engage in the hopium too of
Yeah.
like, you guys can't release that until you got an economy. Like, you just can't.
I don't think they
It's
will.
pretty
I
and
don't
all.
I don't see the benefit. I don't know.
They wouldn't have gone.
I'm
They
with
wouldn't.
you. I'm
They
with
wouldn't
you.
have gone back and completely slow walked and redone the whole ship, because like they've basically been slow walking that ship. Where it's they could have finished it off last year, and they decided that they were going to let's just take our time and really get through that. It seems like they're stretching it out as much as they can so that they can try to get it to a point. They'll get a point where they're like they're basically working on polishing the bolts on the inside of the ship before they can be like, is it ready yet? Can we release it?
I could actually see that.
Tony, where you at? Tony.
That's an
Tony,
intern's job.
Tony, we have the ship. What are you doing?
I'm just
is the bolt
inventing new.
polisher.
We're inventing new things to do with the ship. We've invented 17 different skins to sell already, including one with flames.
Yeah. With Tony, we've got 16 skins for the Hull C. Tell me you got the economy coming soon, right? No,
They wouldn't do that
Jesus.
to my
All right, it's going to be
wallet.
20 skins, guys. 20 skins. Can
Jeez.
we do a Hull C variant that we can release at the same time? Is that an option? I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Let's move. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Move on.
All right. I was going to say, because this is a question for you, Seggelion, because I know you're big with this with Ultimate Energy and everything like that.
Okay.
The other thing that's been talking about was refining. And we know that refining is going to be involved in fuel and salvage and stuff like that. But there's been a lot of things they've talked about in the past. What are your hopes and what are your, give me your hopes. Like, what do you think when that first comes out? What do you really hope we get out of the kind of player refining? And then also give me what you think is probably your expectations, your hopes versus your expectations for refining gameplay.
Okay. And I've never actually talked about this before, so the first time I'm saying this. So I would say my long-term plan in Star Citizen is refining. And I believe it's going to be a real estate game where we're just going to have to buy equipment and, choose whatever we're going to have to refine, and expanding on those services and optimizing those services, and then building, I guess, a market to sell whatever it is we're going to be refining, the commodity. So I think it's going to be a real estate game, the refining. So, I buy assets towards that. Whenever I can get real estate, I try to get real estate. There's a raid with 109 people from Atmo Esports. Thanks to the Raiders. Greetings, Raiders.
Welcome, y'all. We're talking about fuel now. So
Atmo Esports, by the way.
Yeah. Papa Freedom!
Esports, if you're not doing it already, because that is some quality entertainment.
Yes, I have been an unapologetic promoter of Atmo Esports for a very long time. I actually did a lore video on their on the unofficial lore, which is now official lore of the Daymar Rally. So,
man, I watched that this year, and I was just I was blown away at the production and all that kind of stuff. Big shout out to Atmo Esports. You guys killed that this year. I was watching some of the Crux Cup earlier today too, by the way. Really enjoying these events. I can't tell you, speaking of being in the yacht club, I look forward to the day when I get invited to said yacht club and I get to, if I'm not hanging out in the engine room doing all that kind of stuff, maybe they'll put a TV in the engine room. Can I have a TV in the engine room so that I can watch the Crux Cup on the TV in the engine room while I'm doing side Navy gig where I serve on board a large starship in the dark spaces? That'd be sweet. That's what I need in my private life as well as my work life.
N1ightCOB, if you want on the Yacht Club, just send me a message on Discord and I'll get you in. Just send me a message in Discord so I don't forget.
That's all.
I'll get you in.
That's it. That's all it took.
That's all it takes. So, but Seggelion, think about like the initial the initial release. So we're talking like, December this year or next year, whenever they actually release the first version of player refining. What are your hopes for that? Your biggest hopes and your expectations for that first release.
Oh my God, that's a terrifying thought. I never thought about that before. Actually, that's the Expanse.
Yeah, the Expanse and the would be the Expanse and the Starfarer. So
Well, the Starfarer, I mean, that's like a Swiss Army knife at this point. But the Expanse, yeah. So I don't know, maybe like next year. But refining is almost like crafting, isn't it? You're kind of like the glue in between all these other things. You're working with the miners. You're gonna offset stuff to the traders. But it's kind of like a nice to have feature. This kind of plays off like what's our first crafting item. So if you think it's gonna be bullets, then I don't think we're gonna get refining anytime soon. But if you say our first thing we're gonna resell or sell is gonna be like laranite or something, or craft. Sorry, craft is laranite. Then that changes things. So, man, timelines though, like next year. That's the Expanse. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Nightcob, what are your hopes and expectations for refining?
Ooh, my biggest hope, I'll sum up in the same level of immersion that mining gameplay. Like, I just don't want it to let down mining gameplay. Mining gameplay is in such a good spot for the most part, right? Like, I was so impressed the first time I tried mining in that I was like, man, you got to be actively engaged in this. It is not because once upon a time ago, I tried Eve. Don't hold it against me, guys. I tried it one time. All right. It wasn't for me. I abandoned it after 6 months because it was like having a second job. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. So I switched. Of course, now Star Citizen is starting to look a lot like Eve in some regards. Anyway, it's okay. I'm coping. But that being said, like, I remember somebody in Eve was like, you got to try the mining gameplay, bro. You're going to sit here. It's perfect time to put that laser on auto and read a good novel. I was like, dude, I don't need that kind of gameplay. I actually like want to play the video game. And the first time I tried mining in Star Citizen, I was like, this is engaging. Like, I can get down with this. Like, by the way, a side note, if you guys haven't mapped, if you have a HOTAS setup, and I know not everybody does, but if you have a HOTAS setup and you have a throttle and you have not mapped the mining laser power to your throttle, you're missing out. You're missing out. That is the good stuff. All right. I was trying to keep it clean there for Paul's stream.
It's fine.
He did say he said it was NSFW. It's the good shit. All right.
Yes.
It's the good shit. All right. With the extra emphasis on the S and the H.
Hey, Nightcob, when you grind for credits, how do you like to grind? What game loop?
Well, 318, 318.1, and 318.2 have really destroyed my my grinding mindset of late. I should say 318.2 with Xenothreat.
Yeah.
Let me caveat that.
Yeah, it's very
But what
profitable.
I used to love to do, it is very profitable. I just feel cheap because every once in a while, I don't know if you guys have noticed with Xenothreat, you'll come in, and even when the servers are like not desynced as hell, you'll have like enemy fighters that will just like sit there and they won't move. Like, I'll come toward a saber in my granted Gladius from CIG, and I will just shoot it, and I'll be like, please move. I want to earn the money for shooting you. Don't just sit there. Oh, you're sitting there. Oh, I'm going to shoot you anyway, but I'm going to feel not good about it. All right. Anyway, normally I grind with bounties, bunkers, because I am more combat oriented. I love to volunteer myself as a turret bro. But that being said, I have taken turns volunteering to be a turret bro, as we like to call it, doing the mining lasers on a mole. And I love that. Like, if you ask, and again, I map it to my throttle and everything like that, so it's a timing game. I even have it hotkeyed to some of the things on my throttle for using the mining modules. And I always tell the captain, I get it. If you can't tell, because I'm Navy submariner, I get off on like tight communications and stuff. So if the captain's sitting there and he's like, all right, activate module 1. And it's like, activate module 1I, and I activate module 1. I'm like, activating module 1, and they're like, aye. And I just I love that back and forth verbal communication. Yeah.
Callbacks.
Like 8 point. Yeah, exactly. I love that stuff. Like, I eat that up. So, I like grinding that way on occasion. I've just been waiting on mining because, I saw the ISC on mining for 319, and I was like, well, I'll just wait for that because that's going to be pretty epic. All those changes. Looking forward to all that. Just wait. I'll do bunkers, bounties, and the other 318 related stuff, and then I'll come back and I'll do mining when 319 drops, and it'll be a great time. So, did that answer your question? Sorry.
Rain will fall from the heavens.
Yes. All right. So let's think about more industry. Do you think we're going to see more expansion beyond crafting and say refining? Is there anything else you can see that Star Citizen, maybe the CIG is missing, or that maybe I've entirely missed that CIG's already talked about in terms of going forward with sort of that industry creating and selling that sort of loop? Is there anything else that we're missing out of the plans? I'll start with you there, N1ightCOB, on this one.
Well, I think you actually hit it on the last part, right? So they've talked about it from the AI perspective, and then they've got a ship like the Banu Merchantman, right? And I want to understand what their plans are to introduce what I think is a crucial part of this game loop, and that's the gray and the black market economy part of player selling. Like, how do we get the players to be able to sell things on, the gray, the black market, obviously the normal markets and stuff like that too? Like, what's their goal for that? Because we've got an inventory management system that is getting by, and at the same time, it's raising a lot of questions. Because we were actually talking about it in one of the Star Citizen Discords I'm a part of. I think it was Trees. They're coming out with the whole, okay, you can use your tractor beam, you can pull components off a ship, you can sell them, and you can put them in your hold and restock ballistas, and everybody's gonna have a great time at Jumptown. And we were talking about it the other day, and I was like, guys, I don't think there's actually a mechanic right now where you can buy a missile and put it straight into the hold of your ship. Pretty sure you have to put it in the personal inventory of the ship, and that's only if it fits. So, like, we talk about this restocking the ballista game, and it's like, well, how do you even do that right now? Because what it sounds like we're going to have to do, unless they've introduced new systems that they have not told us about, is I'm going to have to go to a place where I can pull a ballista, get my tractor beam out once it's on the little pad that I spawned it on, and take the missiles off the pad and put them, maybe on the ground beside it or in a ship that's nearby. And then I'm going to have to despawn the ballista, go into my vehicle loadout manager, take the things from inventory that I have there, put them back on the ballista, respawn the ballista, take them off the ballista. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Like, so how do we finish that part of the game loop of like a market economy that is, okay, I put a bunch of size 7 missiles in my Cutlass Black, Jumptown's going on, and I'm offering up my services as a logistics guy. I'm ready to come sell you guys some fresh size 7 missiles so you can keep holding Jumptown and raking in that sweet drug money, Well, there's some logistical aspect of that too, though. It's like, okay, well, there's no economy and there's no market and there's no gameplay feature for you yet, except the Mo Trader, which is rudimentary at best.
I actually know the answer to that, which is something that they already talked about.
Do you?
Yes. The answer to that of
Educate me, Paul.
How you do this is they already have missile like racks, like stuff that you can store for storage for missiles and stuff like that. It's just taking those missile racks and turning them into cargo containers. So like you would have a bespoke rack that would work as a cargo container. So when you buy those things and you put them in your ship's inventory, it'll just pop up onto the cargo grid as a missile rack with those missiles on it, and then you could pull them off and put them back on. But you need to have those different weird shaped containers, which we don't have yet, the 32 SCUs, and because beyond the one.
Do you think we're getting those soon?
They've talked about, they showed off some of those in the sneak peeks before as well, the different weird container sizes, like the 32 SCU, and then like the like liquid containers that are larger and smaller. They're working on it. It'll come when we have the.
They're working on it.
Yes, working.
It's coming.
On it.
I promise. Soon, TM. Soon, TM.
But it's coming with the cargo elevator, the freight elevator. So that's the key, is watching that. When the freight elevator comes out, I think that's what you're going to do. It's also, again, connected to the whole sea, which is the thing that actually needs all of those weird things. So I think we've decided that this video is that the whole sea is the freaking giant lightning rod. It's the whatever the waystone for all Star Citizen content.
The catalyst
going
that brings
forward.
Tony Z out of his cryo chamber.
Yes,
like a thermometer.
That's the thing.
It shows like where Star Citizen is in the development stage. Once we're at percentage bar or something.
Yeah.
Like what Chad said, it's an industry pillar. It's the pillar
Yeah.
of industry in Star Citizen is the whole sea.
It's supposed to be that way by lore. So
By
it's
lore too,
accomplishing
yeah.
that anyway. Wow.
Yeah.
GG.
All right, so Seggelion, same question to you. Is there anything that we're missing in terms of future loops that people that either I haven't or we haven't talked about yet that was connected to expanding this sort of industry commercial gameplay?
I think the next expansion is real estate, though, just because,
Like
they
actual,
talk about
the actual like land claiming and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
because like so many other things will be able to grow from that, and like, don't you think that Pyro has this whole like American Wild West frontier kind of vibe? And I think that we're gonna like migrate to the new system with real estate like out there, like we'll be able to plot on Pyro, and I think then we'll have marketplaces, and then we'll be able to have resource claims and start up refinery businesses and that. And I think, that's a gateway. So what do you think? You don't think we're going to get real estate anytime soon?
No, I think that's right. I think that's close. I actually hadn't thought about that because it's one of those things I try not to think about too much.
Yeah.
Because
why don't you like to think about that?
Taste in their mouth.
Because so many people got so upset about that when they started selling land claims and stuff like that. It's like I don't want to go through that. I understand why they did it and all that kind of stuff, but did you play Shroud of the Avatar? Do you know about Shroud of the Avatar? Yes, I know what they did too. Yeah, I know.
They started like day zero. They started with real estate. That was a big mistake. So like CIG waited, and it's the right thing. But there's still a time and a place where it should happen.
So. Oh yeah.
Then.
I am looking forward to ground gameplay or like building and like building bases and such, mostly because I want a point in my Star Citizen gameplay career where I walk out with a shotgun out of my hab to people who are trespassing and be like, this is my property, get off my land, and then just be able to say that over voice comms and see what happens. I'll probably get gunned down in a hail of gunfire, but it's, how Wild West is that?
Well, you kind of bring up the crux of the problem, in my opinion there, Paul. Like, one of the things that I think a lot of players are waiting for, and a lot of players deem this to be like the thing that's going to make Star Citizen start to really matter is, you think about what are the things that we care about in the video game. It's like the stuff. I want stuff that's mine. I want stuff that matters to me. I want stuff that I can look at and I can say, I earned that. That is mine. That is my plot of land. It's mine and it's nobody else's, And,
to some of us out here,
at least in my shard, but like that's the idea. And, when they get to that, that's going to be a big thing, because it is going to be contested. And I agree with you, by the way, Seggelion. It's very much like I get that feel out of Pyro too. It's like, that's a lot of unclaimed space. It's a hazardous space to live in, but if you can make a living out of there, man, you're going to be proud of that. That's going to be a big deal to you.
To some of us, millennials who don't own houses and don't really own stuff, we're like some of us are really fighting for owning something in this world, whether be it virtual or not. So that's a thing too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So actually, thank you for bringing that up because I completely forgot about that. Because that's the other thing that a lot of people forget is that a lot of this is also going to be facilitated by land ownership, by plot ownership, by building bases and using those bases for some of these things. Because not everyone's going to have an expanse, but you may be able to build a cheap refinery on your place, or
they tease that too.
Or like a machine shop, or a small like little thing that you can use to build your own stuff on a world, those sorts of things. So it's very interesting. Go through a couple of rapid fire questions before we end it off, and then kind of one big question. So I'll start with you on this one, Seggelion. Do you think we will have? Actually, I was actually gonna bring that up. I could pop in my brain. Do you think we are going to have? Do we think we're going to have crafting before the end of this year?
Definitely not.
No.
Okay. I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
Do you think we're going to have it? Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll answer here in a moment. But NightCOB.
Okay.
Same question. Do you think we're going to have crafting before the end of the year?
I'm thinking. I'll be honest with you. That was not one of the things I was prepared to answer. You could ask me like resource management by the end of the year, the galaxy by the end of the year, and I would have easy, quick fire answers that are only 2 letters for you. But honestly, crafting is a little bit different because I think I'll put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised if it's very limited, but it is in by the end of the year. Like, I will not be surprised if we're manufacturing either, like we talked about earlier, the subcomponents or ammo by the end of the year.
But also, what ship is going to do that? We don't even have a ship for.
Oh yeah,
we don't have a ship for crafting, so they have to make a ship first.
Yes, and I will say that there is that leak that had happened.
There is that leak.
What, the mist?
The Argo MCV. The Argo. Yeah. So it was. It came out the same time as. I forgot what else it was. It was last in IAE.
Yeah, October 13th.
Yes.
Oh, I love this ship. This is my favorite ship. I hope they make this ship. I'm serious. I love it.
You love the description of it? Yeah.
Did you see the meme of it with a tractor beam on Reddit?
Yes. I saw that with that.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the thing. I'd love to see the MCV, which is, for those of you who don't know, is the mobile construction vehicle, and they even had a full list on it, and it was weird because it was in the files, and as if it was about to be sold as like a concept ship at the very least. And with CIG being not subtle about talking about crafting, as my only thought is that's the MCV. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So,
and couple that with just how easy. The only reason I give it any credence to maybe, and I'm going to stick it with a maybe by the end of this year, is how easily they dropped in the crafting of the multi-tool and the reclaimer and the vulture. It was just like a nothing. Like, hey, we put this in there.
That's what CIG does. They give us these surprises sometimes.
Yeah. Right. But it was one of those things that was so easy to do it in that little way that I was like, okay, well, it's not like that's a huge tech hurdle, it sounds like, for you. That's not resource management. That's not server meshing. That looked easy. You just said, okay, it takes this quantity to make this tool, and this magic box will print it out for you. And it's like, well, okay. I mean, that shouldn't be a huge stretch then for me to make my own ammo if you give me the right, building blocks UI and the right vehicle by the end of the year. So in that regard, I'm kind of like, that's one of the few things that would actually surprise me if it made it in before the end of the year. Resource management, I'd be like amazed because it's I look at that tech and it's like, okay, well, you're going to bring on life support. You're going to bring on, fuel consumption in both the quantum and hydrogen, in addition to the fact like the power plant needs maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And you got to restructure, the vast majority, a significant percentage of 116 or whatever we're up to vehicles and variants that don't even have physicalized components or component bays. Like, I can list 10 off the top of my head. That's going to need a rework. So it's one of those things like that's years of time. Maybe not years, but it's a lot more than
it's more than
left in this year.
Yeah,
it's a lot more than we got left in this year. So it's kind of one of those things like, yeah, I'd be surprised if resource management makes it. Don't be wrong, I know they're working on it, and that's good. And maybe they surprise me. Don't be wrong, I'd love to be wrong.
I'd love to be wrong there. Too.
I'd love to be wrong, but I fully expect like Invictus next year, we're all going to be geeking out about resource management coming online with whatever's coming out at ILW. So, but crafting, I would not be surprised. I'd be like, okay.
I'm torn because I can see them expanding the crafting, but I don't think we're going to see it crafting to the level that people want. As is tradition with CIG, we're going to get something that technically counts, but is depressingly small in its initial implementation. And then they'll expand on it over time, I think. But the next question I'll ask you, start with this one, N1ightCOB. Do you think we're going to see refining before the end of the year?
You mean ship refining?
What's that? Ship mining.
You mean ship refining?
Yes.
No, I don't.
No. Okay.
It doesn't seem like a priority, and the only reason because it's like they've already got station refining, so it's not one of those like we need this.
Yeah. Seggelion?
I mean, the Expanse isn't even on the roadmap, so definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to make a statement and tell me if you agree or disagree, and I'll start with you on the Seggelion. This is not the year for industry gameplay.
Well, if we get the Hall C, then what's
okay.
industry gameplay? What does that even mean? Because trading is commerce,
Yeah, I usually consider like trading and commerce and that sort of thing as part of industry. It's the things that are not combat, things that you're making and you're selling and you're moving things, because like mining and salvage and crafting and refining and all of those sorts of aspects. Even I would even say that trading, because it's more about moving from point A to point B and stuff to go do those things. The economic gameplay behind the combat stuff.
Well, if we get that pillar, that Hall C, then that's all of my faith. And it's on the roadmap. So
yeah,
let's have faith. Let's be optimistic.
The secret fourth pillar of Star Citizen, which PES, server meshing, the persistent, the dynamic economy, and the whole C is the fourth pillar of the game.
If there's any takeaway from this show today, that's it. That's the message. Oh, who says this? Trade is not dead, people.
N1ightCOB. Do you think this is the year for industry gameplay?
Hot take. I think it is, but it's not. It's not quite the year.
Okay.
But this is going to be so think about it though. Last year the year for industry gameplay? Not even remotely, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like this year, I honestly think like, okay, we're not getting master modes this year, kids. Like, let's just be honest and upfront about it now. We'll just all accept it, eat it down. I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's happening. All right. And then I don't think we're getting resource management this year. I think it might be early next year at best. All right. So what I look at it as, and you can kind of tell by what's coming out, right? The changes to mining in 3.19, the tractor beam changes to the multi-tool, like, and then I really do think we are going to get the Argo SRV out by the end of this year, before the end of this year, I should say. Mm-hmm. So
we need that. That's something necessary.
We do.
Yeah,
that we do. And so I think it's industry gameplay, but it's going to be focused on two things. It's going to be focused on mining and salvage. And unfortunately, it's not going to have the economy to go much with it unless Tony Z just like magically wakes up and he's like, surprise, kids. You thought the crafting thing was a surprise? I have a whole economy waiting for you. But I strongly suspect that economy doesn't work without AI that's viable on the servers, because it is 9-to-1 driven by AI. And if you don't have AI that responds on the server tick rate like you need it to, then I just don't see the economy working the way that you want it to either. So that's the bad news on that one. Or at least that's my thought. That's my take. And I don't know. Remember, this is Paul's show. We don't work for CIG. So
yeah, exactly. We have no idea.
Do what you want with that. We're full of shit.
Everything. Well, there used to be I always liked this as a tagline. There was one very early in the show. Board Gamer came on one of his early times. And he basically said, we don't know shit. No one here in this thing knows shit. And so that's been my tagline for the Captain's Table. Whenever someone comes up and is like, well, blah, 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 but you said, it's like, we don't know shit. Like, the only people who knows anything is CIG. And I very strongly believe that half the time CIG is just making this shit up as they go. They have a plan. They have a plan they're going to execute, but the plan is make gameplay. And they're like, okay, making gameplay. kind of approach to things, because they don't know what like salvage is going to look like in its final iteration until they know that if salvage works, they want it to work in. So
that's the same with trade too. People come by and ask about trade all the time, and we don't know what it's going to look like. After the Hall C comes out, it's going to be a totally different game than we're playing today. So manage expectations.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead.
To clean that question up, just to be clear, I think in a lot of ways this is the year of industry gameplay, because you are going to get the SRV to tow wrecks. Mm-hmm. You're going to get the tractor beams to pull components. I think we might even get hull munching before the end of the year. I think and not only that, but I actually also believe that cargo elevators and some of the other things necessary for the cargo gameplay, those are coming along. I honestly feel like it almost feels like that's the focus of this year, in the absence of the other things. So I think you're getting big key components for industrial gameplay loops. I don't think you'll have the full breadth of it by the end of the year, but I think you'll have a much bigger leap in terms of what we've been, waiting on. I think you're going to get most of salvage by the end of the year. And that's a huge thing, because people were really concerned about, okay, it's just hull scraping. It's not really, this is like the least interest. It's pressure washing, but like to the next level. Like, I don't want, I mean, it sounds chill and I'm down with it, you know? It's a good, ASMR thing to do while you're listening to your favorite streamer and stuff. But like at the same time, I need something more engaging. Stripping the components off the ship is literally coming like months later.
Okay,
And then
but
now you're going to talk about,
let me just change your
go ahead.
perspective on that a little bit, because like instead of trying to fulfill the game mechanic with salvage, I mean, they have persistent entity streaming and vehicles have to decompose. They have to remove them from the server. So they had to create ships in order to meet the demands of the game. And after they add the SRV out, well, we need that to, even at the Crux Cup today, we had these vehicles we had to move out of place. So we desperately need the SRV. Now there could be future mechanics that exist that they have to invent a ship for to fulfill the gameplay, outside of the whole, crafting and stuff.
That's true.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And, a lot of us, I think, realized, especially when we started playing 3.18.1, 3.18.0, and to a less extent 3.18.2, now that they've got a hot fix with the density manager. But the first time one of us showed up to PO, for most people in chat, I'm sure if you played it, you're like, oh my God, there's like 20 ships above PO. Can somebody do something about this?
I love that. People complain about that. I thought it was so cool, man. I don't know.
I did too, but it was one of those things. It's like you look at it and you're like, man, what an opportunity for the Argo SRV to be in game right now. Because you could tow them out of sight.
The Yeet bus.
And you kind of also wanted the hull munching too to go with it, and that's why I think we'll get it by the end of the year, because it solves a lot of their problems.
I agree.
And they're forward facing.
Yeah.
Like you can see it.
It's like 90%.
So.
The Vulture is only half a ship without the hull munching. Paul, what do you think when they had all the ships loitered all over the place? Were you like, get your damn ships off my lawn? Or were you like, oh, this is a good network system, it's running well?
I was very happy that when we saw all of the wrecks everywhere, because I was dodging them and I'm like, wow, I can actually, like, there's ships, there's just wrecks just outside of my hangar. That's kind of cool. I would like to go for the extra mile and have AI coming on and being like, ignore the wrecks. We're sending someone by, or having missions where you just go. Your job is just to go pull the wrecks off of the stations and go throw them into space or something like that. Being a space repo man sounds like both a fun and terrible idea, and so it was
unavoidable.
For me, it was like, it's like I can see the promised land. I can see where CIG is going with it, and it's nice that they're so focused on that stuff. So yeah, all right. I think we're gonna end the discussion on that. And then we're going to move over to the questions and answers. But if you enjoyed this discussion, please do make sure you're checking out Seggelion. Make sure you're checking out Ultima Energy, checking out, Yacht Club. It's like Fast Cart, Seggelion. You're like Fast Cart. It's like I can't. There's like 7,000 things you're part of, and I'm like, I can't list all of them.
That's a very nice compliment. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I could only dream. That man is a legend.
He is a legend. He is the Black Jurassic, and everyone loves that. It's his nickname that he got on the show. It's a complicated story, but ask him about it. He likes to talk about it. And of course, check out Armchair Generals and Admirals on Tree's channel. You'll see N1ightCOB. You can also find him floating around all of the different Star Citizen universes. You'll see, if you're on Discord, any Discord right now, Star Citizen Discord, hit @ and then start typing a name just like that. He'll pop up. He'll just be there.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
He lives in your walls, is what I'm trying to say. So he's always there. Yeah, check it out on Tree's channel.
So many Discords are going to do that, and I'm about to get pinged, and it's going to be really embarrassing. You're on this one too? Shit. Yeah.
Why are you on this one? This is just about like home sighting in on log cabins in Northwest Oregon. Why are you in this Discord there?
All right. Well, first of all, I like log cabins, and I'm big on home sighting. All right, just don't kink shame me on the internet, Paul. If I want to be in Discords about it, I will.
And of course, you can check us out live every Saturday, on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Come join us live, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive, and you can come ask your questions live as well. And if you want to see the question and answer session, well, you're in luck, because this was entirely recorded on like Vod and all that sort of stuff that will be available for you right above Seggelion. It'll be a link. Also have the link in the in the description for you to go watch that, and you can watch the whole thing, even our little breaks in between, all that sort of things. And yeah, like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.